Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Real with Jordan and Demi in Los Angeles. It's Jordan Edwards in Los Angeles as well. Now, Demi Ramos, what's going on? And
What's
today we've got
up?
G Love. You got a new album coming out, and you got a new single, Love from Philly. First of all, let's start off with a new single. You had one of your idols on here, Schoolie D, dropping some rhymes. So how did that whole thing come together? Have you guys known each other for a long time?
Yeah. Hey guys. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, I was just to the point with Schoolie D. I just was tell all the listeners out there, I just got stuck with an emergency dad duty. So
we have a small co-star in the.
We ended
So
up
cute.
so forgive me, you might hear some toddler action, but just to that point, actually Schoolie's my older son Aiden, and I can't remember, I almost want to say his daughter's name is Jordan, but Schoolie's daughter and my older son, hey, they used to play together. And so I've known Schoolie for years and years, and being in Philadelphia, I grew up kind of listening to Power 99 FM. Friday nights, Lady B hosted this program called Street Beat with Lady B. And that was the first time we all heard all the underground hip hop, including Schoolie D. So I've been a fan of his since I was, in high school. So it was just awesome to get him in the studio. So yeah, we're buddies, and I'll never forget what he said when he came in the studio, because he goes, if I can just be Schoolie D for 15 minutes, I'm gonna nail this track. I was thinking about this morning. He really gets into this character. His real name is Jesse Weaver, but then he kind of transforms into this, superhero who we know as MC Schoolie D.
Is there a separate character between Garrett and G Love? Did you ever think of G Love as like a character?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always felt like that same kind of thing. Like and that's why I've always kind of when I get on stage, I have stage clothes, and they've changed over the years. Anything from Adidas tracksuits to and hip hop stuff to 3-piece suits to polyester thrift store stuff. But it's always been a process of making a transformation between regular life and then jumping on stage, where you get that ability to really be this character, be this force, and be something part of yourself, but something different than you are kind of in every day. And I think about one time I got to see Dead & Co. And my wife, Kelsey, one of her girlfriends was friends with Bobby Weir. So we got to go backstage between the sets and talk to Bob. And Bob no one even asked him about it. He just started talking about it. He says, what the Grateful Dead is they're like an opera, right? And so what he's doing is going into character every night and playing the roles of these songs and this music. And he said, when everybody's up there and can really get into that space where you are putting on that kind of opera show in character, then that's when the real magic happens, which is pretty unique. I think a lot of musicians share that,
Demi, do you have that same kind of feel? Demi's in a band, and we were just talking yesterday about how different Demi feels as she goes on stage and how that vibe is.
Definitely. There's something that I read this article in fourth grade, actually.
Fourth grade.
Yeah, where they talk about duende in reference to performing. And there's a certain kind of moment where you just kind of let go, and there's a magic that happens when a performer just kind of almost forgets that anyone's around, but it's, you know,
Mm.
they call it duende. It's a Spanish term. But I actually wanted to know, what was it like having a band in the 90s? Like, can you bring us back? Because like rock is having a moment right now. I'm like, yeah, but like that's not the real, you know, this is not like the real deal back in the day, CBGBs or whatever. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, we actually played CBGBs, and we played. They had a pop-up shop, which is now at the what is John Varvatos store down there on the Bowery, if you know that. That was called CBGB's Gallery, and that was where we did our showcase to get our record deal. But
Wow.
and then later, after we were signed, we did play CBGBs, and that was yeah, a lot of the iconic clubs. But what was it like being a band in the 90s? I don't really know, because we were just like, it was just so full on. And I'll tell you what it was like. It was like we were in a van
Mhm.
just going coast to coast. And if you wanted to call home to your mom or your girlfriend, you had an AT&T. I remember my when I signed with Epic Records, they gave me like a free AT&T calling card, so I could
Nice.
call. And
Free phone calls.
Yeah, so you basically go 1-800 call AT&T, right? And then you have to put in your calling card information, and then you could call
What?
the payphone.
Oh,
So
Payphone.
yeah, so it was like, if you did have a girlfriend, there's no way of knowing what she was doing while you were away, or what you were doing while she was away. So it was just like,
Wow.
and I think about things like things we take for granted now, like navigation or whatever. Like, how did we get anywhere? Like, with maps, we had maps, like a book with the maps.
Yeah.
So it's like the city map. So you had to find like, where's the Independent, or where's the Fillmore in San Francisco? Well, it's I mean, it was a lot of that, like off the grid kind of stuff, and it was I don't know, man. It was just a lot of shows, and yeah, I mean, I guess it was some kind of time, and it was and like Jordan was saying earlier, is like there was so much different kind of music that was happening, and that is kind of something that was interesting, right? Because anything was going, like you had the Squirrel Nut Zippers and all the swing dance stuff was big, and we were doing this alternative hip hop. Music was kind of like becoming this big soup, where all the lines kind of were crossing, and I think that's what you see now, is that nowadays all the lines have been crossed, right? You see at the country music awards, there's like hip hop, and at the MTV awards there's country, and country has hip hop, and hip hop has country, and all these lines have been blurred and crossed, which is kind of the goal of music.
I wanted to bring this up at the beginning, but I'm a video producer, and I do music videos and stuff like that. And the very first video I ever made, I did a family movie of our family camping trip down in the Ozarks of Missouri, and I set it to a G Love song for like the family to see. Yeah.
What song?
It was deep cut. It was Sarah's song from the Electric Mile, because it's a very like bluegrassy, like laid back acoustic kind of country kind of sounding song, and it just fit the camping vibes perfectly. But so you've been with me through my whole voyage, as in the back of my mind when it comes to music and sound. That's one thing. You've done? I know you've had music on commercials and stuff, but have you ever got involved with like doing soundtrack for a TV show or anything like that?
Yeah. Actually, well, I was gonna say, like, that's another difference, like in the 90s, Demi, because like if I would have seen if Jordan was making that video now, I would have reposted it, but I never even got to see it now.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
It was like for family viewing only,
But yeah, actually, we had yeah, I mean, one of the calls we got was to be the band for Ben Stein's second show, which was just the Ben Stein show, which was kind of his like couch talk show. And so we were the house band on that, and they filmed the whole season in 2 weeks in LA. And So I was staying up at the Rock and Roll Hyatt there on Sunset and just going to work every day, being the house band, which was, wow, that was like a challenge and really uncomfortable for me. I was kind of, I don't know, more maybe just more shy or something. And when I was a little younger, and I didn't like that whole thing where like, you're the band, but you also have to like banter with the host because
the Paul Schaefer role.
yes,
Yeah.
I wasn't comfortable with that. And frankly, I didn't like Ben Stein. I thought he was kind of an ass.
Oh, really? Hot take on Ben Stein. Didn't expect that this morning.
But my drummer, Jeff, was awesome at it. So him and Ben Stein would end up doing the dialogue. But yeah, that was, I'd like to do it again. I think I'd be better at it now.
Yeah. Well, whenever we, people make talk shows all the time, so you never know.
I'm ready.
You have this. First of all, we'll talk about it later, but you have a new album out is that coming out soon, I guess?
Yeah. Actually, the new record's called Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Right.
And the theme of the record is kind of the pilgrimage of the hip hop blues, from Philly down to Mississippi, the heartland of the blues. We were joined by a lot of really cool special guests, both like emerging younger generation blues men and women, and some old timers as well. It was really just a special recording project. So yeah, that actually on 4/20, the pre-order just came out, and the record drops in June 26th. And actually, the record's dropping as an NFT as well on the Yellow Heart platform.
Oh my goodness, NFTs. Are you into like that whole world?
Yes.
Oh God. It's like everyone's talking about it. And I still don't. I'm like, okay, so you make a picture of a monkey and then like graphically, and then I'm supposed to buy that monkey?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's definitely like an addiction, but yeah, I kind of got into the crypto, into Bitcoin and Ethereum in 2017 when there was the massive upswing of Bitcoin.
Oh, did you get it on? Did you ride the wave?
Well, no, I bought it at the peak right then. I mean, not a lot. I threw, I don't know, hundreds or some small denomination of thousands of dollars at it. But the important thing was I got in, and then I kept kind of putting in drips and drabs when it kind of was in the bear market for a while. So yeah, then, right at the beginning of COVID, it really took off again. And so that was kind of exciting. And, my tour manager, for instance, he retired from the road because he invested like, $7,500 into some DeFi stuff in the beginning of the pandemic. And he's made enough that he quit his day job.
Off $7,500. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard a story about a guy who put I really don't know the numbers, but put some money into crypto and lost like a hard drive. And it turned out to be like $500 million. Like,
right. Yeah,
and they go out in the dumps and they try to excavate.
He's like looking for it to this day. Like he's like, like looking for it. But okay, there are 7 albums made with Special Sauce over many years. And
okay.
I wanted to know, amongst bandmates, what happens with decades of success and kind of like growth, and I guess I'm sure like everyone, there are setbacks in any kind of career. Like, what happens to the dynamics of band members amongst so much years of making music with each other?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Demi. And I mean, for us, like it started like the minute we got signed, because I signed. So we were a trio. And, to be clear, that was the proper way it should have gone down. Because I was doing all the work like off the stage, putting flyers, making flyers, investing in the van, leading the band, blah, 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 and the primary songwriter. But basically, my son's attacking with a lightsaber.
So you signed as like a solo artist with a backing band. Was that the situation when you signed with Epic?
Yeah, I signed, even though we were a band, G Love and Special Sauce, I was the only one that signed a contract. That led to us like keeping the band together for a long time because it wasn't a democracy. However, it was. Did I lose you guys?
No, we're here. We can do camera 1, camera 2, like, yeah.
But yeah, the minute that the money came into play, because we were street musicians and then we were a bar band and we were broke and we were living on the fringe of society. And then all of a sudden we signed with Sony Records, which is basically one of the biggest corporations in the world. You know what I'm saying? So the minute the money came into play, you know, the vibe started getting messed up and infighting started. So by the second record, after we did the tour for Coast to Coast Motel, you know, we broke the band up, or I broke the band up and went back home because it was too much negativity. But that being said, you know, we came back together, and even the solo records that just say G level on them, the truth is that most of those records are Special Sauce records. I just called them G Love records.
What about like in terms of how do you deal with different egos and personalities? You know, like, such as your members, and after that first album, like what caused that split?
Here you go, buddy. On my phone. With that. I'm trying to get my phone. Here you go. Take that. Here, give me the lightsaber. Can I hold that?
Give me the lightsaber. I'll trade you the lightsaber for the phone.
Oh my God. Don't buy, you guys probably, I don't know if you have kids or not, but don't buy presents for parents that make noise.
That's never buy. Yeah, absolutely. Good. That's a good tip.
But yeah, like, the three of us, Jim, Jeff, and I had very different personalities. You know, very different people. And, oh my dear. And it was, you know, we're like oil and water off the stage, but on the stage in the studio, we share like a really amazing chemistry it's undeniable. It was undeniable from the very first rehearsal, and it's still undeniable, you know, almost 30 years later. But that is part of it, like managing people's personalities. And Demi, you're in a band, you know, like, and you yourself are a musician. It's like musicians are just weird people.
Oh, hell yeah.
They have to be, because in order to get that proficient on your instrument, you have to spend a lot of time alone, right, in your room. That's true. Then, of course, most people are like, they don't want to work. That's why they're going into music. So you have a certain amount of like flakiness and just, I don't know, just, but also passion and hard-headedness and a lot of things that make it difficult, and a lot of different personalities, like to be a front man or woman, or, you know, to get up there and spill your guts every night, you have to have a certain amount of ego. So there's a huge amount of ego in creative people. And that's it. Like, if that's it, managing that and finding how to keep those type of people together is everything. And then, you know, it's you could watch VH1, you know, rockumentaries all day long, and everyone has the same, everyone figure that out, you know, whether it's like Fleetwood Mac or the Rolling Stones. And then you know, everyone said, well, fuck this, I'm gonna go do my own shit. And then you say, well, look, you know, Mick Jagger never had he had a couple okay hits as Mick Jagger, but, you know, everything is with the Stones.
I want to talk about your guitar playing. You have a kind of, your signature guitar style is sort of bluesy, sort of folky, and also kind of percussive, because as a trio, you had to play both lead and rhythm guitar on stage. And so how did you develop that sort of percussive blues hip hop guitar sound where you're just kind of like, I don't even know, I want to impersonate it, but I know I'll do a poor job of impersonating it.
Impersonate it, Jordan.
You just like you just kind of do that sort of like half strum, half, you know, it's kind of a hybrid rhythm guitar, lead guitar sound with like that blues thing, but you also be rhythmic because you could do that kind of hip hop flavored music where you kind of rap over the guitar. So how did you kind of find that guitar sound that you were looking for?
Yeah, man. Thank you for kind of recognizing
that. Was such a music journalist question. Like, how did you find that strummy version of the guitar sound?
Well, no, man, I really appreciate the question because it's something that is really important to me, and it started like it's kind of I'm always kind of like reactionary person in general, but like so I started off really influenced by the Beatles and Bob Dylan, right? And I at a young age started playing harmonica and got the harmonica holder, so Bob Dylan, right, and Neil Young, and in 1986 or whatever in my high school, everyone's rocking The Cure and the beginning of hip hop, and I'm like getting into this folk music and folk rock, and so that was pretty unique in my high school. But then when I started writing songs and going to open mic nights, oh shit, other people have heard of Bob Dylan too. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I had to flip the script, and so I went to this awesome record store in Philly called Third Street Jazz and Rock. And I said, is there any record that has one man acoustic guitar, solo performance with the harmonica rack other than Bob Dylan and Neil Young? They gave me this record by this guy, John Hammond, called Country Blues. And I went home, put the vinyl on my turntable. And the first side was like him doing his rendition of State Sparrow Blues, a song which the Allman Brothers later made famous. And that was it was like the sky opened up and it was like this epiphany, like the light shone down and showed me. And I knew from that first note, I was like, that's the sound. And the sound was, one man acoustic guitar, not just strumming like with a flat pick, you know what I'm saying? Like playing lead and rhythm and riffs and percussive strumming all at the same time while singing and playing the harmonica. And later I got to see John Hammond play live and forget about it. Like his facial expressions and it's like this way his foot's stomping, kicking up dust. It's like a human tornado. And that was it. So basically all of and the way he would play his harmonica rack, like it wasn't just like he was breathing in and out. He was playing single notes and bends and rhythm and all this really complex stuff that you wouldn't think you could do like on the holder. So to me, it was like, oh, that was my blueprint. And the other part of it was that both John Hammond and Bob Dylan, well, I could talk about this forever, who happened to be best friends in the early 60s. They both made their first record in 1962 when they were both 20 years old. So I was 17 when I got hip to John's record, and I, read the liner notes on the back, and I said, well, shit, I got 3 years, to make a record. So there was that. But immediately I started delving into that Delta blues style, and then that really separated me from everybody at the open mic nights. Just the fact that I was not using a flat pick, I was using like a thumb pick and 2 finger picks, and playing the harmonica different. So it just comes back to one of my main things. If people say, oh, do you have any advice for like, up and coming musicians? I said, well, the main important thing is like, be original. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have to be good. If you're original, you know what I'm saying, and have something to say, that's everything, because there's a million people that can play and sing their ass off and aren't going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And then there's people that make the big time and you're like, how they can't even play. Well, I mean, the Sex Pistols couldn't even make a chord hard, or like, like you look at any of those punk rock bands, or like, what's London Calling?
The Clash.
The Clash, like they talk about it all the time. They're like, we couldn't even play. You know what I mean? But they had something original. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know Harvest Moon, the Harvest Moon record by Neil Young?
Oh yeah.
Do you like that record?
Oh, I love that record. Yeah.
Is that one of your favorites?
Yeah, I mean, Neil Young. I mean, I think my favorite Neil Young record probably is Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere with Down by the River and the title track and Cinnamon Girl.
I'm a big Rust Never Sleeps fan.
Okay, that's another great.
I love that.
And like Unrust Never Sleeps, that's a live record, right?
Yeah, and like half of it's acoustic, or half of it's like stripped down, half of it's electric. Yeah.
And then he says, and then it's like, you never forget when he's talking about when he's singing Sugar Mountain. It says, something about like, you know, getting high and the crowd's like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel about kind of how music's changed over years? Going from buying CDs, buying records on vinyl to CDs, and the streaming world. Did that affect how you wrote songs? Because one thing, for example, like known as like the first 5 seconds in the streaming world is like the most important thing. It can like people have such short attention spans that it's not like you go out, you buy a CD, you invest in CD. Now you're gonna listen to every single song 10 times over a week. It's like you can just switch to the next song and it doesn't really cost you anything. So did that change your songwriting anyway?
For for better or for worse, not
Yeah.
really. And I was talking about that with someone like, you know, also for better or for worse, I'm kind of like, I feel like as far as like making records, I'll be forever like stuck in the art of like making records as opposed to like making singles, you know, like of course, like every songwriter tries to like make a hit with every song because that's how good at writing a song makes you feel, and you think it's a hit, but in reality, you know, the cream will always rise to the top. But yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I don't know. I feel like, you know, I feel like I just continuously try to like make music from the heart and make music that's like truly inspired, and when I write a song that there's a reason for it, and it could be a really simple reason and it could be a really profound reason. It could be happy, it could be political, or it could be sad, or it could be, you know, complainative, but it's always like really real what I'm feeling. So I haven't really tried to. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So for better or for worse, I haven't really thought about that as the songwriting process. Like, well, this is going to be streaming, so it's really got to connect in the first couple seconds. But because in reality, like music's always been like that. Like, right? It has to connect in the first couple. It has to connect. Period. No matter what platform you listen to, or people are going to, you know, fast forward over it or turn the record or put a different record on. So that's always been part of it. But yeah, maybe to your point, maybe it's more severe now. People have a shorter attention span, and I don't know, a lot of the new generation, they didn't come up, you know, holding a record necessarily and
Looking at the album art, like, feeling it,
you know what I mean?
treasuring it. Yeah, kind of.
Because even like the CD generation, that still will come with like a sick ass pamphlet. You know,
yeah,
you'd have a book with your CDs in it, and now you know it's just, you know, you got your phone.
That honestly was like one of the best parts about CDs is you had the booklet was just a nice little. It was literally a booklet instead of holding out an accordion thing for a tape liner notes. You could just, it was literally, you just flip it open. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
That's wild.
So you're on tour this summer. You're doing a tour with Dispatch No AR. I guess like in July. You used to do festivals? Do you still do festivals, especially the summer coming up? That's still pretty big for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, festivals are the greatest thing ever when you get invited to play festivals. So yeah, we play festivals and play as many as we can get. I think one of our big ones this summer is the Peach Music Festival, which is, you know, pretty has become pretty big jam band festival in Scranton, PA, home of The Office. But yeah, and there's a bunch of other festivals. There's that's a good thing about festivals, is that there's so many mom and pops, smaller festivals around, and continuing to be more and more. So that's awesome. And of course, the festival culture in the U.S. it took Bonnaroo to come along to show that you know, 50 or 100,000 American kids could get together and not destroy the place, because they've been doing it in Europe since the 60s. Like, they never stopped, you know what I mean? In the US, that shit was like over. So yeah, festivals, what I like to say about festivals, that, like, you know what I'm saying, like, you have this wonderful opportunity to play in front of, you know, your fans, but also turn on a lot of new people that are there for everybody else. And then the other fact that there's so many amazing that your peers are there, you know what I'm saying? And you got to bring your A game. So we have a saying called festival rules, which is just that, like, bring your A game, you know, play the hits, just pull out all the stops, whatever tricks you got as a performer, you know what I'm saying? Like, you pull it all out and you show everything you got.
How do you feel about being part of the jam band community in a way, jam band adjacent, I guess you would call it? Because I don't consider G-Lo and Special Sauce to be a jam band at all, even though you do solo frequently and stuff. I don't put you in the same category.
Yeah, it's another thing about our whole career. We kind of been on the fringe of all these scenes. Like, no one's never know where to put us. Like, in the beginning, they were putting us with all the hip hop acts, but
Wow.
that was different. And then, then we got an opportunity to tour with Widespread Panic. It was Widespread Panic, Galactic, Government Mule, and us. And that was, we had a lot of, you know, acceptance, and also, you know, no, from the jam band community. It's been a challenge. You know, the jam band crowd is very, very discerning, kind of a critical crowd in a lot of ways. If you go on any sites, and, you know, whether it's the Dead or Dead and Co. or Dave Matthews or Widespread Panic, everyone's talking about the shows and were the shows good, and did they pull out this, or what songs did they play? So, you know, we've always kind of been on the fringe of the jam band world, and it's been really super beneficial. And I wish kind of that we had geared ourselves more towards the jam band thing. But I always, my like music, you know, my team, I think, was my music business team was always kind of hesitant to put us too much into the jam band world in the 90s and early 2000s, because at that time people were selling records, but jam bands weren't selling records, right? So Fish was selling out stadiums, but they couldn't sell a record, right?
Yeah.
So your record label would be like, and same thing with Widespread. So they'd be like, well, no, we don't want you to go with them because we want you to sell records.
Wow.
You know, we don't want you to give your music away to tapers, because we want people to buy the records, you know what I'm saying? But in the long haul, it was just terrible strategy and planning.
And I'm assuming, even though you're releasing music solo, there's still Special Sauce is still out there, right? There's some kind of Special Sauce. You're just kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, well, you know, like during you know, yes. Long story short, yes. Like, like I said earlier, even the solo records, G-Love records, a lot of them I just felt like, for instance, like G-Love, The Hustle, I felt like that sounded better than G-Love and Special Sauce, The Hustle. I've always struggled with, like, wanting to either call my band just Special Sauce or just G-Love, you know, and it's so, you know, and sometimes, you know, G-Love and Special Sauce is such a mouthful.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be called just, but yeah, Jim and Jeff have played on actually all my records except for the last two, which was the Grammy nominated The Juice, which Kevmo did, and then this new one called Philadelphia, Mississippi, which Luther Dickinson from the North Mississippi All-Stars produced.
I feel like The Juice, your previous album, The Juice, this new album, the way it's described, you know, I haven't heard the whole thing, obviously, but it feels like it's kind of a companion to The Juice, because The Juice had a lot of those blues-based guests. You had Robert Randolph on there. Do you feel like, are these kind of companion albums in a way?
Yeah, it's certainly, you know, like for me, I've kind of, and it's nothing new, but I've kind of myself, and like kind of growing up and always trying to infiltrate the music business different ways, I finally found like a lane which feels really good to me and is a certain thing and is part of the whole program, which is called the Contemporary Blues. And that's what we got nominated in the Contemporary Blues Grammy for with The Juice. And it's my kind of like industry goal with this record, Philadelphia, Mississippi, to win that category. That category feels really good to me, because it's contemporary blues. So what does that mean? Well, it means
Yeah.
blues, and you do whatever you can do to to make it original and new, and that's what I've been doing my whole career. So
Yeah.
I don't know why, I'm not alternative rock. Maybe I'm alternative hip hop, but that's not even a thing. Where do you put us? Well, now we have a place, contemporary blues.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. And the last thing we'll talk about before I let you go, how is fatherhood? You have the brood with you today, and it's a different world doing the young fatherhood thing in your 40s as opposed to in your 20s or early 30s. Are you glad? Do you feel like you have some more wisdom doing this in your 40s as opposed to doing it when you were younger?
Yeah, well, I will say that when my older son Aiden was born, that changed my life and brought what I needed, which was like a reason and a focus. And when I boil it down, I think about like what, when you're in your 20s and your 30s and you're it's all kind of about you, your career, your love, trying to figure out who you are, what's this thing all about. And then all of a sudden, boom, you have a baby. And oh, well, that's what it's all about. It's about taking care of this. I better get my shit together. You know what I'm saying? So when I had Aiden, and unfortunately it didn't work out with his mom and I, but like that also was like, I was like, well, whenever I don't have him, I'm going to focus so hard on my career to provide for him and the kind of life that I want to have for him. And then when I do have him, I'm going to be as completely present as I can. And so now fast forward in, 20 years, he's 20. Wow. Starting over with, kind of a more stable relationship. I'm married now. We have 3 young boys. Man, it's like the kids are everything. Wow. That's another part of the challenge. Like, it's harder to leave home and tour. And, but again, it still does give me that focus to try to just, be an earner for my family. And, and yeah, you realize like family, I think the older you get, you realize like the family is like kind of the most important thing. But again, you have to like have that, you have to work whatever you do to make it good for your family. So that's what it's brought, continues to bring me that focus when I'm not doing this. And I want to just thank and apologize to your listeners and you guys for being patient with me while I'm
all good. It's real life. It's
Are
real
any
life.
of the kids going to be doing music?
Well, you guys are very, very patient. Thank you. But yeah, I'm saying like it's it's just a juggle, you know what I mean? And it's a juggle now.
Yeah, since you got like the background vocalist, Demi's asking if your kids are going to be musical.
Yeah.
Already put a guitar in their hands.
Well, Aiden's an artist. He goes by Clear Cola, and he's like a sick, like kind of, I don't know, like this kind of like dark film noir style instrumental hip hop stuff. He's also like he's super dope producer and he's a good drummer. But it's interesting, like he's 20, like I said, he's like now he's going to school for architecture at Mass Art because he doesn't see like, to him the music is like, it's kind of, he was brought in it and he doesn't see it as like a career. He sees it more of like a passion and a hobby, which is interesting because he's talented. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah. But music is, it's always in the family, and it's funny when the kids are like 2 and 3. These guys come up on stage and play harmonica, and then when Lewis, who's now 6, he's now kind of self-conscious. He doesn't come up on stage as much. It's fun, man. It's everything. I love being a father.
All right. Well, we will let you go. Thank you so much for joining us on this reel of Jordan and Demi. The new album is out in June, and the new single "Love from Philly" and the music video, an animated music video, is out now. So check that out.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, Jordan, real quick, if anybody wants to find out more about what we're doing, you can hit me on Twitter at glove, at Philly Glove on Instagram, Glove and Special Sauce on Facebook, And yeah, stay tuned. And the Juice Gang on Discord. So if anybody want to tune in for the NFT release, all right, Demi, I'm gonna get you hip to this.
Yeah, I need to get you converted over here. Get you converted over here.
NFG, what? Come on.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks, guys.